Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for WhatCulture.com, joined by Adam Wilborn and Adam Nicholas, aka the AWO, and the new What Culture champion, if you hadn't noticed. Now, it is, what time is it? Is it?
So late or early.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Something
We're just on the back of WrestleMania 34. Everything's fresh in our mind. So we're going to give you the star ratings and let you know what we thought about the monstrously long but monstrously fun and strange pay-per-view.
And speaking of star ratings, just get it in front of you.
yeah,
Just want to call out a little person who put the word melt in Meltzer. Dave, yeah? This, again, is how it's done. At least I can grow a goatee, mate.
Right.
Go yourself.
Whoa, Richard, chill out.
No, that's how we do it.
Yeah, that's
Is that actually how you do it?
That's what I do, yeah.
Well, this is the thing, clear.
You, Dave!
Well, we kicked things off with the Intercontinental title match, the triple threat match between Seth Rollins, The Miz, and Finn Balor. We actually called this before the night started on our live stream, said we thought it would be the perfect match to kick off the show, and sure enough, that's exactly where it was, and that's exactly what it did. These three have proven how good they are together and individually, and you want these kind of guys to open the night and really get the crowd going. It's a really important spot. You want to make sure things get kicked off in the right way, and to be honest, in a match of this caliber at the very beginning of the show, three guys who are absolutely at the top of their game, well, you couldn't ask for much more, really, could you? This had some great sequences between the three guys. It was slick, the pace was excellent, and to be honest, I would have been happy with any of these guys winning the match. It would have been great to see The Miz keep the title and actually break that Intercontinental title reign. It would have been great to see Finn Balor as the champion, because Finn Balor is fantastic. But ultimately, we got to see Seth Rollins, your boy CrossFit Jesus, crowned as the new Intercontinental champion and walking out of WrestleMania 34 as the man. All three of the guys delivered in this match. I don't think anybody lost anything, particularly the two guys who didn't get the win, but ultimately it was the perfect way to start the night. And in terms of star ratings, I think I'm going to have to give it 3 3/4 stars. Not quite 4 stars. It's like very, very, very close, but ultimately just falling shy of the mark. We don't want to set the bar too high after all.
Well, who called that one? After 914 days, if my calculations are correct, Asuka's undefeated streak in the WWE has finally come to an end. Let's not kid ourselves though, this was no fluke victory. This was two of the best female performers in the world right now, putting on a stellar performance with some great spots too. There was the moonsault into the triangle choke, the suplex on the outside, and the Spanish fly from the top rope that was just mwah. Charlotte selling the arm throughout the match will no doubt lead to a very interesting match in the future with perhaps someone else who's really good at arm bars, but that figure 8 tap out almost seemed to come out of nowhere. We all thought, surely not here, and then it happened. There was the fantastic emotional finish post-match as well, with Asuka declaring that Charlotte was ready for Asuka. Good little match, 3 3/4 stars.
So, this was a match that I didn't actually thought could be interesting, yet this turned out to be one of the best, if not the best match of WrestleMania 34. Ronda Rousey, Stephanie McMahon, Kurt Angle, Triple H. The opening was fantastic. You had Triple H coming in with a motorcade of motorcycles, and it just looked great and set the tone that he has an air of arrogance unparalleled. You can see why Steph married him, because basically he's the male version of her. The authority was on point and on force. In comparison, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey's entrance were quite understated, but they let their actions speak for them. Because Ronda Rousey basically silenced any critics that she had by showing that she not only could hang with the boys and girls in the locker room, but she might actually be a leading force in Stephanie McMahon's personal quest that she thinks she started. Every single person had a role to play and they performed it well. Kurt Angle and Triple H basically acting as the glue, holding the match together, carrying spots between, setting up people, basically moving the match along when it needed to. Stephanie could have sold better. That's definitely a problem that she has. However, she was a formidable foe for Ronda Rousey. She managed to stop the armbar. She managed to show some actual MMA tactics to try and avoid being put into that situation, which I didn't think that she was going to do. I genuinely thought that it was going to be a 4-second break and done. She proved herself quite a lot. But the best part is that she actually got some comeuppance for being the absolute heel shit that we know, because she got taken down hard at the end. And there were some great spots in this as well. Kurt Angle managed to get a very good sequence off, and he is in great shape, but he's also not in great shape, if you know what I mean. He's definitely aging a bit. So to see him hang with Trips and manage to beat him blow for blow and get off some lovely suplexes and an Olympic slam that was just pitch perfect was just reminded me of SmackDown 2 Know Your Role, and that's always a good thing. However, Ronda's moveset is where I was really interested in. Not only did she get off a flurry of kicks and punches, but she managed to do some snap drags, some hip tosses, and obviously the famous submissions. I really enjoyed this. She actually acted better as well, clearly loosening up as the match went on, and managed to get some verbal attacks at Triple H. And Triple H and Steph managed to play the role of the dastardly heels very well. They told the referee that ignore the fact if Triple H just bashes on Ronda for a bit, but if she dare lay a finger on him, or if Kurt lays a finger on Steph, then the match should be thrown out straight away. That unfairness built into the match and came to a very cool false finish where both Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were in submission holds, the angle lock or ankle lock and the armbar, but they didn't tap. And the match carried on, and we were all just wowed by this. We thought to ourselves, well, that was meant to be the finish. That's the finish that everyone thought there was going to be. But no, this was Ronda Rousey's defining match, and she got her moment. She managed to not really rip Stephanie's arm off, but she definitely left an impact. That's why this match is easily going to get 4.5 stars.
Now then, the fatal 4-way match. Probably the match I was the least interested in going into the pay-per-view, going into WrestleMania 34. However, I have to say, they put out, like last minute, they put out the little thing. We had the triple threat initially of Randy Orton versus Jinder versus Bobby Roode. The addition of Rusev was a good stroke, a clever stroke from Vince McMahon and co. to try and get some interest and some intrigue into the match. Unfortunately, by doing that, I think that might be where this match tripped itself up. They put themselves in a position where they could possibly crown Rusev as the new US title. The Bulgarian brute being crowned on Rusev Day, no less. That would have been amazing. Imagine all the chants. He is probably one of the most over guys in the company at the moment, but they didn't bloody take it. And of course, as you can imagine, some fans are going to be left feeling a little disappointed. The match itself wasn't terrible. It was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be, truth be told. But the problem here is they've added Rusev into the match, and instead of having the end of the match be Rusev winning the title and an entire sea of fans on Rusev Day chanting his name, he's been added to that match to not only lose, but to be the man who ate the pin at the very end. And who else was going to pin him? Bloody Jinder Mahal. Can you imagine? Oh, who came up with that? Who honestly thought that would be a good idea? Because the most over man on SmackDown Live, at least Rusev losing to one of the least over men on SmackDown Live. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me, but as I've said, I'm still actually quite... with Jinder Mahal, I'd like to see them not just throw all that time and investment away, so to see him win another title is actually probably quite promising, but ultimately at the expense of Rusev, I don't think that's a good move. I think it feels important to say that I'm not mad they decided to have Jinder win the title, because ultimately I like the fact that they're going to go with him again, but I just think don't add Rusev to that match if you're just not going to have him ultimately get the payoff of winning in the end, because that's what people wanted to see and they didn't get it, so they're going to leave feeling disappointed. All in all, the match, while not terrible, not going to set the world alight, so I'm going to give this one 2.5 stars.
Well, not all you can really say about this match, in particular with what happened when the New Day came out. I've been informed by What Culture's legal department to just refer to them as short stack pancakes. Yeah, that was a thing in 2018. Wow. But what a turnaround for the Bludgeon Brothers after first debuting and everyone going, what the f are these guys? And even that moment when we all thought they weren't even going to debut on TV after they appeared at a house show just back wearing their normal gear, they just steamrolled their opposition to claim the SmackDown Tag Team Championships in what was basically a glorified squash match. Fair play, lads. They have got an unbelievable amount of momentum behind them going forward after what was basically a short and dominant performance. There's not even that many spots to mention aside from Woods getting smashed into the post and then Kofi being powerbombed off the top rope by Harper for the finish. That was that. And there you go. The Bludgeon Brothers are your new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and it's well deserved. What happens next? Who knows? 2.5 stars for me.
Okay. So Daniel Bryan has now wrestled for the WWE after 3 years being away from it. This was a monumental moment, and as you'd expect, it was overshadowed by Shane McMahon and his potato fists and his coast to coast and his dodgy hernia, his diverticulitis, which I'm not going to make fun of because that's genuinely quite serious, but this was meant to be D-Bry's moment, and he only got a fraction of it, in my opinion. He got knocked out of the match very early with a quite brutal looking pop-up powerbomb onto the apron, but he was down for a long time, and Shane took the most of the offense and the defense for his team in that time. Sami and Kevin laid into him a lot, and they made a big deal on commentary that he was ill, like he's at death's door as it is, and they still couldn't put him away. Thus, thereby establishing once more loud and proud that the product of Vince McMahon's semen is a thick, coarse, gooey, horribly, horribly viscous subject. And apparently hard as nails. I'm sorry, Linda. Some of the spots included a pretty admirable coast to coast from a man who was clutching his hernia the entire time, even though Sami had to help him out quite a fair bit, and some big bumps to the outside, and Shane didn't have anything big to jump off, but he did make sure to jump off the apron and the top rope a few times, so he still ticks that box. But it was when Bryan got back into the match that things really kicked into gear, and this is what people came to see. The yes kicks, the missile drop kicks into the corner, and a shining knee, or a flying knee, or a jumping knee, whatever you want to call it, that was so on point that it was almost surgical. It was beautiful. I loved that section of the match. It's a shame that I had to wait 2/3 of it to get that sort of payoff. Slow and clunky to begin, bit confusing that he was knocked out early, fantastic ending. Therefore it's a match of 2 halves, and therefore I can't really say that it was the best match I've seen, so I'm gonna have to give it 3.5 stars.
Now, this one probably had the most intrigue going into WrestleMania out of any of the storylines that we had been presented. Now, we just didn't know if we were getting this match. I can't actually think of another time where WWE has billed it as possibly happening but not actually had everything be sort of tied into a neat little bow heading into WrestleMania. So we started the night with John Cena in the crowd, basically, and we kept cutting to him every 5 bloody minutes, which was a bit distracting to say the least. But all in all, eventually we did get a payoff, and it was great. We did get a bit where John Cena was told, I guess that he was told that Undertaker might be around. He went flying over the top of the barrier and ran up the ramp, basically running past Charlotte as she just won the match to end Asuka's streak. Completely on their little moment. He could have waited 20 more seconds to let Charlotte at least walk up the ramp with her title intact. But no, thanks John, just run past them both and take a big steamy all over that bit. But that's not the end of the world, not terrible, it just probably would have been smarter to let them have that moment, do you think? We even had Elias come out and try to get some nuclear heat by interrupting John Cena's attempts to get The Undertaker to come out. That resulted in Elias getting beaten up and John Cena eventually feeling like he wasn't going to get to see The Undertaker, heading up the ramp in disappointment. But as I said, we got a payoff, and my, what a good payoff it was. You see folks, sometimes in life you can get what you want. This is probably proof of that. However, we got what we were looking for in the fact that the Phenom rose from the dead and returned to WrestleMania 34 to grace the show of shows with his presence one more time. I'm going to be honest, he came back, he turned up in the ring, these two had a match, and the best way I can possibly put this is, it was a greatest hits of a match. Basically, we all know Undertaker's situation. He's not at his prime condition anymore. He returned to have a match with John Cena. It lasted not very long. It was quite short, but basically, Undertaker did all of his old greatest hits. He basically came on stage, much like you would see from Elias, played the hits, the old school snake eyes, the lariats, the choke slams, and a tombstone, and beat John Cena clean as a whistle, 1, 2, 3. And by the way, huge props to John Cena for doing this, because my goodness, like, he didn't have to do that, but he's giving back to the company, and he gave back to a man who gave his entire life to a company. Now, this is exactly what I wanted from this match. I didn't want to see an old, tired Undertaker do a 20-minute match and everyone point out his flaws. It was Undertaker's greatest hits. He beat Cena, and that, I mean, what more can you ask for? It didn't take up too much time on the card, and you know what it is? I'm not going to give this one a star rating, because it felt more like a segment or a WrestleMania moment. It wasn't a match per se, and to try and even quantify it wouldn't do either the rating system or the match, if you like, any justice at all. So for this one, what I just want to say is it was a good little moment. It was a great bit we'll all remember, and John Cena giving the fans a chance to almost say thank you to The Undertaker after he left last year in such sort of mysterious conditions as to whether or not he was ever going to wrestle again.
Braun Strowman beat the Bar with the help of a child. I feel like I'm wearing the right t-shirt for this. Are you having a giraffe, mate? Are you having a giraffe? If you don't know what that means, go check out my series, Insane Things That Happen in Wrestling. That's all I'll say on the matter, because I'm speechless. Braun Strowman is now the Raw Tag Team Champion alongside a child. I can't tell if it's brilliant or stupid. 2.5 stars.
Now, granted, I may be slightly biased about this one because of my love for AJ Styles and, in particular, Shinsuke Nakamura, but I felt like when I was chatting to some of the guys in the office post-WrestleMania about this match, they were a little bit down on it, whereas I absolutely bloody loved it. And I'm not just talking about the best entrance of the night by Shinsuke Nakamura. That was all I expected and even more. I think possibly this whole match suffered because of its own hype. People saw AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura going head to head, and they built this match in their head, which I think anything that they did wouldn't have been able to live up to. But this was really good. A slow build to a phenomenal, pun intended, crescendo. You had a story, you had physicality with Styles selling his back and Nakamura selling his knee, and most importantly, you had an unbelievable finish. Shinsuke Nakamura going for a Kinshasa to win the WWE Championship, and Styles reversing it in a way that I don't think I've ever seen him do before, into a Styles Clash for the 1, 2, 3. Who saw that coming? And then we had that great moment post-match where we all thought, oh, that's nice. Shinsuke Nakamura is going to hand AJ Styles, two guys we never thought we'd even see at WrestleMania. He's going to hand AJ Styles the WWE Championship to hold aloft on the grandest stage of them all. And he sort of did that, and then hoy right in the balls. I never really thought I wanted to see Shinsuke Nakamura heel turn, in particular this early on in his WWE career. But when it happened, my God, did I love it. Then he kicked him all over the bloody place and then hit that Kinshasa on the outside. I'm so excited to see where they go from here. WWE, please don't screw this up. And I tweeted immediately after that match. A tweet that's done pretty well, to be perfectly honest, but maybe it's done slightly worse after the main event because I thought that Brock was, leaving. I said Shinsuke Nakamura should be Paul Heyman's next client. If you want a mouthpiece for a badass, to copy sort of a David Brent sort of thing, that's what you want to happen. Shinsuke Nakamura, Paul Heyman. One can talk, one can kick people's fucking heads off. WWE, I don't know what you're doing with Brock Lesnar, but make that happen. Anyway, the match itself, I really enjoyed. Some people didn't think it was that great, but I think that's because it suffered from its own hype. So, in summary, I'm going to give it 4 stars. Fight me.
Now, I have a bit of a problem when it comes to storytelling in the women's division, when it comes to let's basically make fun of a person's weight or appearance. I just don't think that that's a very clever storytelling tactic, yet it seems to be something that the WWE have relied on in the past. Mickie James obviously being a famous example of that with Piggy James. So this was Nia, who'd basically been betrayed by her friend and who'd mocked her appearance, basically getting revenge. And this was a story that actually went from being what I thought was an okay at best to a really bubbling hot story. Actually quite a low-key one of the best stories that was going on in the women's division up until this point, and it paid off succinctly because we got to see Alexa Bliss getting totaled by Nia Jax. And it's a deserved win. It's a really deserved win because now Nia Jax has not only basically gone full face, she is now in the eyes of the people. She walked out there and people were off their seats cheering and clapping. This is a deserved victory. Sorry, I've got a very runny nose right now. Anyway, yeah, so it was a very, very competent match. I enjoyed this. I really, really did and that ending basically encapsulated everything that this match was about. A big escalation with a massive payoff. A Samoan drop from the top rope that basically crushed Alexa Bliss more than she'd crushed Nia with her comments. For that reason, this is getting a 4.25 stars out of 5.
And then we had the final match of the night, the one that we probably all thought was a foregone conclusion, and the one that ultimately ended up being the one that I imagine has probably evoked the most emotion out of quite a few people tonight. Lesnar and Reigns are no strangers to putting on good matches. Yes, Brock Lesnar doesn't like doing super long matches, but he knows how to get the crowd going. It was hard hitting. It was full of suplexes, as you would imagine a Brock Lesnar match to be. It was ugly at times, slugging it out like two absolute heavyweight boxers, and obviously just a clash of two very big wrestlers going at it in the ring one-on-one. Now, the format for this one wasn't much different to the previous match they had at WrestleMania 31. Brock Lesnar beats the living daylights out of Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns eventually makes a comeback, and as we all thought, Roman Reigns would end up getting the win. But the twist in this particular tale was one that not anyone, I can imagine, probably saw coming going into this match at the very beginning of the night. As predicted, Roman Reigns did indeed come back after his initial beating from Brock Lesnar, and he kicked out of not one, not two, but probably, I think it was about 5 F5s in the end, which just kind of blew my mind a little bit, including one of them that was through a commentary desk, but we'll just like sort of move past that. He managed to kick out of all of these, much to the absolute shock of me and everybody in the room with me at the time, and probably most of the fans who were there. We all knew he was going to kick out of at least one F5, but 5 F5s? Jesus Christ. Then we got into some really weird territory. Roman was on the comeback after kicking out of a bunch of F5s, and yeah, Lesnar, it went very Lesnar Orton from SummerSlam last year, where we had Lesnar essentially hard-weighing Roman Reigns, and when I say that, busting him open with his forearm in the hardest of hard ways. Literally this humongous cut on Roman Reigns' head. He was absolutely covered in blood. Like, we're talking absolutely top to bottom in crimson, like Eddie Guerrero versus John Bradshaw, Layfield levels of crimson. My God, I mean, I'm not a fan of this. I really don't think they should be putting wrestlers' health and well-being, specifically the concussion kind of territory that we're in, ahead of trying to evoke a response and get sort of the drama that they want from this match. I get it, there's going to be blood, but just too much for me. Nevertheless, Brock Lesnar fought off another Roman Reigns comeback and eventually hit the big dog with one last F5, the 6th for him on the night. And much to my disbelief, and my word, trust me, my disbelief, somehow we managed to see Brock Lesnar walking out of WrestleMania 34 still the WWE Universal Champion. Sweet baby Jesus, I never saw that coming. I'll be completely honest, I can't really tell you what happened after this, because the reason I have this on my shoulder right now is because Roman Reigns lost to Brock Lesnar. I had Brock Lesnar in the pick, and ultimately I lost my mind, probably a bit of my sanity while that happened. And to be honest, it looked like everybody, it was hard to gauge the reaction from other people because we were all obviously going crazy in the studio, but I really enjoyed the match, but I also think there probably could have been more done with it. I'm going to have to give it a second watch, but I imagine when I do, I'll probably enjoy it even more because I won't be as distracted. from all the emotion that came with this. But ultimately, I'm going to say give this one 4 stars for the night. I really do think it was a decent match. I think these two guys always put on a good match. But more importantly, maybe better than what we expected. But also, I would say there's room for improvement because at the end of the day, especially, I just can't get over how much of not of a fan I am of people being busted open that way. Really don't agree with that at all. But it was a decent match, even if we did almost kill Roman Reigns on the way to getting it. So, you know, what are you going to do, eh?
Well, there we go. Those were the star ratings for WrestleMania 34. Let us know what you thought about it down in the comments section below.
Let's see if you can do any better, Dave.
Go on.
Hey?
You are a handful.
Yep.
Is this what Cleary has to deal with every time?
That's why, yeah.
Actually, why isn't he here? Why do I have to do this? I just do the. I do the what went down.
As you can see, normally there's 3 of us, isn't there?
And normally we normally handle this. You do the what went down sort of thing.
What's the best way to put this?
He's,
you know,
occupied.
Occupied, is that a fair way to put it?
Is he just?
It's the legally the best way to put it. Occupied.
Basically.
Thank you very much.
Is he actually just gone?
I don't know.
He's not here.
I'm not his carer.
Fancy that.
Is he having a drop?
Fancy that. That's what he's doing.
Hey?
Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. Give some love to Adam Nicholas, the new What Culture champion. And as always, I've been Jules.
I have been the man who makes Dave Meltzer his bitch, Adam Wilborn.
And
I have been Adam Nicholas, the new What Culture champion, and probably the new just best boy in general, to be honest.
May your reign be long and terrifying.
Yep.
Boys, can we go to bed?
Yeah, I'm so tired. Anyway, see you guys later then.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.
Hello there, you've made it all the way to the end of the video, and as part of my designated 18 hours of community service, I'm here to tell you that we have a number of other channels available for you to subscribe to, as well as other slightly, possibly not related videos for you to watch. So please do one of the things to my left or right, otherwise I have to pick up leaves on the roadside.